Welcome to Conversations for Course Creators. I'm Lucas Marino, your host, and tonight's topic is blogs and how you can leverage a blog for your training site. Could be your website, could be that you use your training learning management system as your host site, like I do. Either way, blogs help drive traffic and they give you a way to communicate value to your potential clients and your existing clients in one location at no price usually, and with a certain amount of flavor that's uniquely yours. So we're going to talk about many of the benefits that a blog can bring, but also what I do to host my own blogs on my Thinkific site. So many of you may be aware that blogs help drive traffic to your website. And this is a good thing, right? So when people search for a topic that you speak about or that you teach about or that you write about, they should find you in their search somewhere, correct? And you want that to be as high in that search as possible, right? Front page of Google at the top of the page would be super sweet. And blogs are a convenient way to drive up your SEO score or your search engine optimization to get you to the front of those searches. So that is one of the, I guess you could say, operational or strategic objectives of having a blog is to help increase the visibility of your brand and of your site and of you in general searches on the web for topics and keywords that you are involved with in your products. Now, if you are looking to not necessarily be too concerned about SEO, there are still a number of tremendous values or benefits to having a blog. So, first and foremost, is that it's fantastic content for your prospective clients and customers to encounter when they come to your site. Maybe they find you through the blog. Maybe they just find your site or hear about you and they go to this site and they see that you have a blog. This is a way for them to access a piece of your brain and learn a little bit more about you and your level of expertise without ever having to communicate with you directly. So they could be on your website, reading your blog articles, getting a perspective on your personality, your approach to topics, your level of expertise, and it helps cement authority, right? So when you're publishing blog articles that have true value and deep enough content, it establishes you as an authority on that topic to a certain degree with those people. And it's free. So, and it's easily accessible and it drives traffic to your site. So, all these are like checks in the box for being positive things. So, let's get that blog kind of value fixed in your brain. Like, hey, I hear about pushing social media marketing. I hear about hosting webinars. I hear about all these things, but we can often overlook some of the easier kind of behind the scenes elements of our business, like a blog that could be very effective in driving traffic. Now, if you're like me, you're a lifelong writer and reader, you love to create content, and this is just another way for you to naturally communicate and express yourself with your audience, and you can replicate this content in multiple places. So you can share these blog articles on social media sites. You can use them as contributions to other articles. You can use them as the foundation of certain sections of books you write. All of these things are outputs or benefits of having a blog. And so it's super valuable for you to have this, I want to say, organic, homegrown, under your control means of creating some valuable content that is easily accessible and beneficial to your business. So, okay, got all that stuff out of the way. So now that we've kind of looked at why a blog would be beneficial to your business, and I'm only putting that in the front of this conversation because most people here watching or listening to this episode are interested in how the blog will contribute to their online training business. It's also a tremendous way for us to create a relationship although it may be shallow or brief at first, with people we've never met, potential clients, but it's because it helps them, right? It's not just to get exposure for your brand or your ideas or that authority, but it's to help somebody. They may find a solution through your blog article. And that solution may be something that they hadn't considered or weren't aware of previously, and you've just exposed them to a new option or alternative for whatever their issue is. Now, it's super sweet when you also provide a solution, right? And you can kind of reference that in your blog without being salesy, and they've now are becoming interested in employing your services or your products to help solve their problem. But at a minimum, maybe you just gave them what they needed to walk away satisfied. Has nothing to do with making revenue, has nothing to do with interacting with you directly via a meeting or some type of conversation, but you helped somebody. And people that tend to work in this space, content creators, people that are creating courses, they're producing content that helps people. This is another way to do that, right? So super benefit. That's kind of the thing I love most about blogs. Now, I get to write, so I like that. I get to publish my blogs on my website. That's super cool. Makes me feel good when I can open up my site and see content there that I just created and released and I know is going to help people. I can also repurpose that blog content for newsletters, right? So I might distribute a newsletter and include a segment of that blog and then point back to the site so that people that are interested can then move from the newsletter to the site to finish reading the blog. That increases the traffic. It helps drive up your SEO scores, but it also gives people the opportunity to opt in or opt out of reading an article, right? They may not have automatically gone to your site to find, but because they're in your newsletter distribution, you have exposed them to that new article and they can make a determination for themselves about whether they want to go to your site and finish reading the article. So articles have to be the blog post or article has to be structured properly, especially if you're going to give teasers of those articles in things like newsletters or just in brief descriptions on your site. Now, I recommend you avoid being salesy, particularly if you're issuing this in a newsletter. You should always start with some type of hook that really captures their attention, intrigues the reader, makes them want to go, wait, hold on a second. I've got to see the rest of this, right? Like, and that's almost never going to happen if you're just starting out being salesy in a blog article. It's just not. No one really wants to open that stuff. So a good friend of mine, she she was describing to me one time the way she approaches this with her brand, and she said, "Look, this is Lindy Denny." She said, "Look, when you go to your mailbox and you open your mail, how do you process that?" And I said, "Well, I take the stuff out of the mailbox and I flip through it real quick to find things that are I know I'm going to have to address or are valuable to me. Bills, expected letters, unexpected letters that I know are coming from people that I know and trust and I'm interested in reading. That's the stuff that comes to the front." She says, "Well, what about the rest?" I said, "All the salesy stuff is just garbage, just junk to me." She said, "Well, that's what people think about when they open newsletters. If if it just looks like junk mail, they disregard it. They sift through it. And people do the same thing with your website content. So if they go to your website content, they see a blog and it sounds super cheesy, generic, or salesy at the top, doesn't really hook them. They don't see any value or interest or intrigue or entertainment. They're just not going to be engaged. So if you're going to provide a segment of your article, make sure that it's the top part of your article, the lead into your article, and that, or the introduction, and that it's also super interesting so that no matter whether it's the full article being someone being exposed to the full article and they're just starting to read it and they're like, "Oh, this is capturing me," or if it's a snippet of your post or article that's included in some other content like the newsletter or just an abbreviated version on your website, it captures them and it makes them click on that link and want to go read more, right? Okay, beat that horse to death. So now let's talk about how this fits in your product ladder. I think it's episode 4. I talked about product ladders. Real quick, for those that haven't watched that episode or listened to that episode, a product ladder is a series of varied products. They vary in price and type, depth, complexity, right? That are included in your portfolio of business offers. And the lowest rung of that ladder could be free or very low priced content, and it's an entry into your product ladder. And then as you step up the ladder, you vary the products, and they could increase in price. They could increase in different types of engagement. They could be everything from a low level offer all the way up to a mastermind program that's a year long. So you will have somewhere on that product ladder for your ideal client to find a solution that suits their needs and fits their budget and fits their appetite for content, what type of engagement they desire. So that's the product ladder. The blog is one of the great entry points to a product ladder. I have a page on both of my company sites, both on eastpartnership.org and on marinotraining.com, simply titled free resources. And that's where I publish my blog articles. That's where I post links to my live streams, my podcast episodes, and my videos. So if someone comes to any of my business sites and they're interested in courses, but they're not really convinced, they see it say free resources, they may be intrigued to click on that and get to know us a little bit more, get to know a little bit more about what we talk about, what we do, what our expertise is, our authority, our depth, right? All that stuff, what our offers are. And so here we are. This is a front-facing piece of content that can easily engage a potential client, and it doesn't cost them much, if anything, to get in the door and get exposure to you. So to me, one of the highest values of the blog article is that it's a low rung, a first step on your product ladder, and can introduce them to other products further up the ladder, maybe one step or two steps up, right? So there's free content or low content there of value to the consumer, and it engages them in your product ladder. The second thing is it helps people understand what it is that you do in particular. So you should not be writing blog articles about stuff completely unrelated to your area of expertise and the topics of product that you cover in your business, right? So if I own a training company and you go to my site and you see free resources and you click on it and you open up a blog article or you open up the blog feed, and the first thing you see is about how I love dogs, and it's a whole article about breeding dogs or owning and raising dogs, you'd be like, what the heck does this have to do with this guy's training business, right? It would be so wildly off point and out of context and unrelated to the real purpose of my site. And it doesn't matter how much I want to write about that, which I don't write blog articles about dogs, but you get what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how much I want to do it. It's about them. Right? So it's your way of communicating with them in a way that's related to your expertise, relative and relevant to your brand, your product line, your way of doing business. So infuse your personality into it. Be very honest, be very informative. Don't hold back on the writing when it comes to sharing value with the reader, but don't give away the farm. Keep it professional. And I'll give you a couple points on how to construct a good blog article and how I do this in my business. So I use a tool called DropInBlog. And DropInBlog is fantastic because it integrates very easy and seamlessly with any type of website. I found DropInBlog in my work with Thinkific, the learning management system. They have an app in the Thinkific store for DropInBlog. So if you're a Thinkific client and you're listening to this or watching this, you can go to your Thinkific app store and you can find DropInBlog and you can load it to your site. Now, DropInBlog isn't exclusive to Thinkific. It is its own standalone product. You can embed it on custom websites. You can do it on WordPress. You can embed it in other types of learning management systems. Anywhere you can basically drop the code, you can put DropInBlog. And that's pretty cool because it provides you a very flexible platform. And you can have multiple accounts for multiple blogs. So I have multiple blogs, one for each of my businesses. And so I have two different instances of DropInBlog. And I go to one to publish for East Partnership, and I go to the other to publish for Merino Training. Now, the cool thing about DropInBlog is it's super powerful SEO screening tool. If you're like me, you don't want to spend a ton of time trying to figure out how to maximize or optimize your SEO when you're writing a blog. I'd rather have some software doing that for me while I'm writing. So in DropInBlog, they have an authoring page or a place to construct your blog. And it's basically a WordPress. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. A word processor embedded on their site. And you can either copy and paste your content into that word processor block, or you can write directly onto the site and create your blog organically right there. And it's going to assess your SEO score, the strength of your SEO as you create the blog. They have a little grade going off to the side. And if it's yellow and weak, they'll be giving you a percentage out of 100. It might be like 68 or 70% or something. It's basically telling you, look, you got work to do to make this SEO stronger. And then as you follow the rules, because they'll actually tell you exactly what to do to increase your SEO, it'll say, hey, you need to include a picture. Okay. And you need to have that picture's file should have one of your keywords in it. Oh, because when you post this article, the websites the web search engines can see the name of that file on that picture, even though that doesn't present that way to the reader. And so that keyword is associated with that picture, and it shows up in image searches on the web, or it just increases the instance of that keyword being prominent in your article. Your title is going to have to be represented somewhere in the article. Your preferably at the top of the article. You're not just like in the title block, but somewhere in that introductory paragraph to your article. There's items like, hey, you don't have the exact keyword match in your title also found in your body of your article or your post. So if you just put those keywords in the title, but you didn't embed them in the actual article or vice versa, it weakens your SEO score. I didn't know these things before I started using DropInBlog and was following the advice of the software. It's super easy, intuitive. It's in a list. And I was so impressed with DropInBlog that I reached out to these guys and said, how can I, use this on multiple sites? And they helped me out. So there's a second part about DropInBlog is their tech assist has been fantastic. I've been extremely impressed. They've always helped me solve a problem. And it's right there in the chat on their site or through email, and sometimes through both, so that we have a record. Now, it's super powerful, the SEO optimization, but it also helps format and structure the blog page itself. So when you embed this on your website, they give you options for how to format the page. Do you want a picture with this brief description? Do you want it to just be the thumbnail, the picture of the article? There's like 3 primary options for formatting the articles. You can choose how many of them are listed on the page at one time. So if I open up your blog article page and I'm just looking at thumbnails, how many are there? Is it 10? Is it 3? They give you the option to customize your site in that way. You can customize the header. You can customize the subheader. You can customize the number of tiles visible to your readers. You can create categories of articles, and those categories can be presented on the page. So if I open up your page and I'm like, I want to learn about blogging, go to the blogging category, all the blogging articles show up. Select writing books, click on that category, all the articles about writing a book are in there. Curriculum development. So you can use categories to help organize the articles in a way that is logical and intuitive for your readers to digest. And so these are a lot of the strengths of DropInBlog and how I've been able to leverage DropInBlog as a tool on my Thinkific site to help my business. And I love being able to just post a link to one of those articles and drop it on social media real quick, or include it in an email list, or repurpose it for a LinkedIn article or something. Or I'm talking to somebody on a Facebook page and they have a question. I'm like, oh, I actually wrote a blog article about that. Copy, drop, they're happy, right? So these are all great things. SEO optimization, sharing and repurposing content, driving new relationships in your business, all the good stuff. So in closing, about DropInBlog in particular, not necessarily blogging, one of the things I liked about DropInBlog is the ability to incorporate multiple authors as well. So if you're like me and you own a business with multiple people working under that roof, I might want to post a blog article from one of the other team members. It doesn't always have to be me. I can even give that team member their own category. So I could have like themes, right? By author, by topic. I mean, you have the ability to do this using that tool very easily. And then the final thing is it does have the spell check and grammar check embedded, and that's been helpful. But I do use an additional writing aid. It's called Pro Writing Aid, and I use that as a plugin to my Google site as one of the extensions. Pro Writing Aid Grammar Check, and I'm I'm super impressed with it because by having Pro Writing Aid embedded on my computer, it does grammar and spelling check on everything I'm typing on my computer. It doesn't matter if it's my web browser, if it's a Word document, if it's on a spreadsheet. It could be anything that is enabling the Pro Writing Aid software to evaluate what I'm writing. So it's super helpful with emails, and I never have to like activate it. I don't have to look at it. It's just constantly running. And I use that when I'm publishing my blogs as well. So yeah. So if you're not already publishing a blog, I highly encourage you to do it. Don't overthink the topics. Make it interesting. Don't be salesy. Inject your personality, but keep it professional. Stay on topic. Expand a bit if you want. Make it something of value to your readers. Share it on social. Share it in email distribution lists. All of these things are beneficial to you and your brand. Okay, so I appreciate you guys tuning into this episode, and I'll see you next time.